Hello, in this video I'm going to explain how to remove and replace the center drive shaft in the Subaru Impreza. It's pretty windy out, so hopefully that doesn't mess up the audio too much, but overall the project's not that hard. It takes about half an hour to an hour. The symptoms you'll notice when the drive shaft's going out, you might get some vibrations at certain speeds. That can be indicative of a U-joint going out. What seems to go out more often is the center bearing. That you'll notice it when it's really gone. From a stop, when you're accelerating, there'll be like a thumping on the bottom of the car. That's just the drive shaft kind of bucking a little bit as you're accelerating, the center bearing not really being able to hold it in place. Overall, I don't think it's a very difficult project. The basic scope is that there's a heat shield in the front that has to be removed. Usually with the 12mm bolts. There's like a bracket slash guard just in front of the rear differential that needs to be removed. What's holding the drive shaft in, there's 2 bolts holding the center bearing, bolting it to the car, and then there's 4 bolts bolting the drive shaft to the rear differential. So you need a 12mm socket and extension, probably like a 6-inch or more, a 15mm socket. That's to remove the rear bracket just in front of the diff, a 12mm wrench, preferably a ratcheting wrench. Electric drill or an impact is really helpful just because once you kind of break them loose, getting them zipping out some of those bolts instead of working over your, like, it's awkward, you know, working above your head, makes your arms really tired. That just speeds the project up significantly. Jack stands, jack, and then I always suggest using anti-seize when you're putting the bolts back in. And I think that's it off the top of my head that I can think of. So I'll show you the drive shaft real quick and then we'll get to the project. All right, here's the old drive shaft out of the car. The end on the left side bolts to the differential. The center bearing is right here. And you can see there's 2 bolts that hold that on. This is what typically goes out. It allows the drive shaft to kind of buck, and you can see there's you get a lot of play. And then that end just slips into the transmission. So you can see on here there's just the 4 bolts bolted onto the rear differential. All right, now under the car, looking to the forward, on this silver plate right here is the heat shield that needs to be removed. There's 4 of these 12mm bolts. There's 2 up in the front here. One of those you're going to need to use a wrench to get to. Now back behind there is where the drive shaft connects to the transmission. So you remove this heat shield and then and slip it out of the way. Now you can see where I tried to unbolt the exhaust here and it just broke. So I would suggest not doing that unless that's something, project you want to tackle as a center exhaust. You can actually work around the exhaust, and really the only issue is towards the back, and let me show you that right now. All right. So coming in from the back, this is the bracket that needs to be removed here. You have 6 14mm bolts, 3 on either side. 2 of the hardest ones to get to are back here, but you can squeeze past this exhaust pipe. That's not really a problem. You drop this down. Here's the drive shaft, here's the rear diff. So here's one of the bolts that's holding it on. Now using a ratcheting wrench, it's really easy. Bam, you can get in there, and with the parking brake on, you can loosen this sucker up. Now, you'll have to rotate the drive shaft in order to get to the other 3 bolts, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. But you loosen that off, you got this off, you got the other heat shield off. There's 2 bolts, 14mm, holding on the center bearing. Once you get all those things unbolted, maybe a little screwdriver, pop this sucker just to kind of separate these 2. This drops out, pull it out from the transmission portion, and to put the new one in, you start with the transmission side. You can get one of the bolts in here up, then you bolt in the center bearing, and then you can rotate this around and get the other 3 bolted on, kind of opposite of what you did. Put this bracket back on, put the heat shield back on, drop it down, good to go. In order to be able to rotate the drive shaft, to get all 4 of the bolts, you have to have the car in neutral. In order to do that, there's a couple different ways. There's a little thing on the side here that allows you to pop it open. But what I'm going to do, you put the key into the on position. The car has to be in a very level position. You have to block the front tires. You put the brake in and you're able to shift into neutral with the car on the jack stands. The car cannot roll, otherwise you'll roll off the jack stand. So this is very important that you're in a very safe position. So with the car in neutral now, parking brake off, you can get out, you can rotate the tire. You want to probably look under the car as you do that to make sure that it's rotated enough so that you can access the next bolt. Now you have to go back into the car, put the car back into park. I would put the parking brake back on. I would turn the car back to the off position. Now it's locked, so when you try to loosen the bolt, it will the transmission will hold it in place. The transmission and the parking brake will hold the wheel in place. You'll have to do this probably 3 times. You'll be able to access one bolt. You have to rotate it, loosen the next one, rotate it, loosen the next one, rotate it, loosen the next one, and then you'll be able to get all of them out. All right, so that's the gist of how to replace the center drive shaft in the Subaru Impreza. This is Scattercat. He's making a cameo. The only difficulty I really encountered was getting that front heat shield in and out of the car. Took a little bit of jimmying, but that was pretty much it. It should just slide out. The other thing I would suggest is you don't drag the new drive shaft on the ground. They are balanced, and so if you drag it, you could wear away some of the material on one side. They're not particularly heavy, so I don't think that'd be an issue, but there's just something to be concerned with. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. And if you have any requests for future videos, you can also leave those in the comment section below. If you like the video, please subscribe. I would appreciate it. In the future, in the next couple months, I'm expecting to replace the struts, ball joints, and tie rods. So you can look forward to that. And thank you very much, and I hope this was helpful.